Who would have thought Jimin could be this good at playing with a ball on stage? If you have been anywhere near army corners of the internet in the last few hours, you already know exactly what we're talking about. But if you missed it, settle in, because this is one of those tour moments that nobody saw coming. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why it is spreading so fast. Before we get into it, if you are new here, this is the channel where we track every single beat of the Arirang World Tour, especially everything Jimin. So if you want to stay ahead of moments like this one, now is the perfect time to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because trust me, this tour is nowhere near done giving us surprises. Let's rewind a little bit first, because to really appreciate what happened, you need the full picture of where BTS is right now. The Arirang World Tour is already being called the largest K-pop tour in history, 79 shows across 34 cities, spanning 5 continents, and it marks the first time all 7 members, RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook, have stood on the same stage together since they completed their mandatory military service. This is not just a comeback tour, this is a reunion tour, and every stop on this run has been treated like an event. The tour is built around their new album Arirang, released back in March, which takes its name from Korea's most iconic folk song, a piece of music that has come to symbolize homecoming and resilience, which honestly could not be a more fitting theme for where these 7 men are in their careers right now. Munich was always going to be special, and not just because it is BTS's only stop in Germany on this entire tour. The 2 shows on July 11th and 12th took place at the Allianz Arena, which, if you do not follow football, is the home stadium of FC Bayern Munich, one of the most storied and successful football clubs on the planet. This is a stadium built for football, with a pitch so carefully maintained that it almost never hosts anything else. And yet here was BTS, becoming the first Asian artist ever to perform there, with all 150,000 tickets across both nights completely sold out before the tour even reached Europe. So right from the start, there was this strange and wonderful collision happening in Munich, a K-pop group taking over a football cathedral. And if you have been paying attention, that collision did not stay subtle for very long. In fact, Bayern Munich themselves leaned all the way into it before BTS even took the stage. In the days leading up to the concerts, the club posted a video on their official account showing some of their biggest names, including goalkeeper Manuel Neuer, holding up army bombs, the official BTS lightsticks, and looking completely baffled by them. You can hear them asking what these glowing things even are and what they are supposed to do with them, until Korean defender Kim Min-jae steps in and explains the whole concept, that fans light these up together during the show to show their support. By the end of the clip, Neuer is grinning and shouting out a welcome message to BTS, wishing them a great show. And it did not stop there. Bayern Munich actually designed 8 custom jerseys specifically for the occasion, 1 simply branded BTS, and 7 more, each carrying the name of a member, all wearing the number 7, which, if you know anything about this group, you know exactly why that number was chosen. These jerseys were never meant to be worn in an actual match. They were made purely as a gift, a way of saying welcome to our house. And during the first night's performance, both V and J-Hope were spotted wearing them on stage, turning the concert into this genuinely charming crossover between 2 completely different worlds of fandom, football culture and K-pop culture, colliding in the most good-natured way possible. Now here is where things start building toward the moment everyone is talking about. During the soundcheck ahead of the very first Munich show, J-Hope spotted something in the crowd. A fan holding up a sign that placed 3 names side by side in this almost mock-serious ranking, comparing Erling Haaland, the Norwegian striker who happens to call this exact stadium home, alongside Thor, and then Jimin, essentially suggesting that Jimin operates on a level beyond both of them. J-Hope could not resist calling Jimin over to see it, and the 2 of them stood there laughing as they read it together, with Jimin even taking a photo of the sign before soundcheck continued like normal. Nobody made a big announcement about it in that moment. There was no indication that this small, funny exchange during rehearsal was actually setting up something for later that night. But it was, because during the actual concert, in front of more than 70,000 people inside the very stadium Haaland calls home, Jimin did something nobody expected. He did not dance it. He did not turn it into a choreographed bit. He simply walked, and the walk was unmistakable to anyone who has ever watched Haaland move across a pitch after scoring a goal. Head up, shoulders back. that unhurried but incredibly deliberate stride that has become one of the most recognizable gestures in modern football. The recognition from the crowd was instant. You could hear the roar building before he had even taken more than a few steps, because 70,000 people in that building knew exactly what they were watching and exactly what joke was being made. Clips of it were circulating online before the concert had even wrapped for the night, with fans stitching together the soundcheck moment and the concert walk into these compilation videos capturing the whole arc. Fan makes a sign, J-Hope notices it, Jimin photographs it, and then hours later, Jimin actually performs it in front of the entire stadium. People online were calling it the perfect example of how it started versus how it is going, and it became one of the most talked about clips to come out of the European leg of this tour so far. So that is the setup. That is what day one in Munich gave us. This playful, spontaneous football reference that already had fans and honestly a fair number of football accounts talking. If Jimin had left it there, that alone would have been more than enough content for weeks of edits and reaction videos. But then came day two. And this is the part where you really need to appreciate the timing, because day two was not just another regular night of the tour. It was happening in the exact same stadium, the exact same football shrine, just 24 hours later, with the Holland Walk clip still actively spreading across every platform. And somewhere in the middle of the second night's performance, during Butter, of all songs, fans caught something on camera that took the football theme from a clever visual gag to something almost unbelievable. A red ball appears on stage, and Jimin is right there with it, controlling it at his feet, moving with it the way someone does when they actually know what they are doing with a ball, not just kicking it around for a laugh, but showing real touch and real control while the entire stadium is watching and while he is mid-performance of one of BTS's biggest global hits. If you have seen the fan cams, you know exactly what I am talking about, because the footage has been popping up from multiple angles, multiple fan accounts, all capturing essentially the same thing from slightly different seats in that arena, which tells you this was not some tiny blink and you miss it moment. This was something a huge chunk of that crowd actually witnessed live. What makes this even funnier when you sit with it for a second is the location. This is not some random stage in some random city. This is Allianz Arena, the actual home turf of Bayern Munich, one of the most decorated football clubs in the world. A pitch that under normal circumstances is treated with almost religious level care specifically because football happens there and nothing else. And in the middle of a sold-out stadium concert, on a stage built over that same hallowed ground, here is Jimin, doing genuine ball control, on the exact turf where some of the greatest footballers on the planet have played. If you were designing a moment specifically to make football fans and K-pop fans both lose their minds simultaneously, you could not script it better than what actually happened organically. And speaking of not being able to script it, let's talk about why this feels so different from a typical plan bit you might see on a tour. The Holland Walk the night before had a clear origin story, a fan sign, I remember noticing it, a joke that got escalated into a performance. But the ball moment during Butter feels like something else entirely, something closer to pure, spontaneous confidence, the kind of thing an idol only does when they are completely comfortable in the moment and genuinely enjoying themselves on that stage. Whether it was something planned backstage as a callback to the night before, or whether it was Jimin simply riding the energy of being back in a football stadium and deciding to have some fun with it. Either way, the result is the same. A moment that instantly separates itself from every other stop on this tour because it could only have happened in Munich, on the stage, during these two specific nights. Now let's be honest about where this stands right now, because part of what makes covering a tour like this fun is watching a story develop in real time. As of right now, this is very much a fan-discovered moment. It has not been picked up yet by the bigger entertainment outlets. It is not sitting in a headline on your favorite K-pop news site. This is coming straight from the people who were actually there, filming from the stands, sharing what they captured because they knew what they were looking at was special. And honestly, that is part of what makes this worth talking about right now rather than waiting. You are getting this while it is still fresh, while it is still spreading, before it becomes old news that everyone has already seen 100 times over. If you want to be one of the people who caught on to this early instead of scrolling past it 3 days from now, this is exactly the kind of content this channel exists to bring you first. If we zoom out a little, this fits into something bigger that has been happening throughout this entire European leg of the tour. Fans have been consistently commenting on how present and how engaged Jimin has seemed at every stop, whether that is the crowd interactions in Brussels, the soundcheck moments in London, or now this football theme running through both Munich nights. There is a version of touring where an artist just runs through the choreography and the set list and calls it a night. And then there is what we have been watching from Jimin specifically, which feels like someone who keeps finding small ways to make every single show its own unique memory for the people in that building. The Holland Walk did not need to happen. The ball control moment during Butter definitely did not need to happen. Nobody would have complained if the set list had just run exactly as planned both nights. But that is not what we got. And that is exactly why people are still talking about Munich days later, and honestly will probably keep talking about it for a long time. There is also something worth appreciating here about how these moments build on each other rather than existing in isolation. If this had just been the Holland Walk on its own, it would have been a great, clever, one-night-only kind of clip. If the ball moment had happened completely on its own without that setup the night before, it would still have been impressive, but it would have felt a little more random. Together, across 2 consecutive nights in the same building, they form this little narrative arc that fans are now piecing together in real time, almost like BTS accidentally wrote a 2-part football-themed subplot into the middle of their world tour, and Jimin happened to be the one starring in both episodes. So where does this leave us? The tour keeps moving. The next stop takes BTS out of Germany and into France for shows at Stade de France. And if Munich taught us anything, it is that you genuinely do not know what is going to happen next on any given night of this run. That unpredictability, honestly, is a huge part of why covering this tour has been so much fun. You think you have seen the highlight of the week, and then something like this drops and completely resets the conversation. If this video gave you even a little bit of that same disbelief so many fans felt watching the footage for the first time, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel keep bringing you coverage like this as fast as possible. And I really want to know what you think down in the comments. Were you already seeing these clips before this video? Or is this the first time you are hearing about Jimin's football era in Munich? Either way, drop your reaction below, because honestly the comment section on videos like this ends up being half the fun, watching everyone process this in real time together. And if you are not subscribed yet, seriously, what are you waiting for? This channel exists specifically to catch these moments as they happen, break down the context behind them, and make sure you're never the last person in your friend group to know what just happened at a BTS show. With this tour still having so many stops left, and knowing this group, there is absolutely no reason to think Munich was some kind of ceiling for what these 7 are capable of pulling off on any given night. So subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and get ready, because if the first 2 nights of this European leg are any indication, we are just getting started, and I genuinely cannot wait to see what happens next. Thank you so much for watching, take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.